more than a fighter, 'cause all my life I've been fighting. Never felt a feeling of comfort. All this time I've been hiding, and I never had someone to call my own. No, I'm so used to sharing. Love only left me alone, but I'm at one with the silence. I found peace in your violence. Can't show me there's no point in trying. I'm at one, and I've been silent for too long. I've been quiet for too long. I've been quiet for too long.
Hello everybody, I hope you're doing well. I'm your host today. My name is Abraham Kasongo, and I'm having a very special guest on stage today. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm fine.
Alright, I hope you are comfortable today.
Yeah.
Alright. So, would you please introduce yourself?
I'm Lynn Tashinga Chipati. I'm a student here at Africa University. I'm doing agribusiness management and I'm in my third year.
Alright, third year student. Thank you for accepting to be here and share with our followers. Alright, yeah, also thanks for choosing us today. We are talking on a very interesting topic today, and I would ask you to just stay online with us, so tune us. So, mental health is still an emerging topic in our society. As young people, we need to talk more about it. How relevant do you think therapy or counseling is in our society?
Yeah. We, unlike times like in the 90s, we're living in a generation where there's a lot of social media. And there are a lot of standards of what is cool, what is good, what is nice, what is beauty, what is being
Sure.
ugly, and all of those things. So I feel like therapy and counseling is a vaccine for that pandemic. I take social media as a pandemic. Why? Because it's spread so wide. Like old people, young kids as young as 3 years are affected by it. Old people as old as 65 are affected by it. So I usually like calling social media a pandemic, which we can actually deal with. And I feel like counseling and therapy is one of the best vaccines we can ever use for it. So I feel like because this generation and the social media age, Gen Z and everything, has given people reason to be insecure, reason to stress, to be in depression. Depression in our generation is at a higher rate than in the past.
For sure.
Why? Because people are constantly comparing themselves to other people, always questioning if they're worthy of life and all those things. And I think that having a therapist will help you realign with who you are, because therapists are professionals.
That's right.
They're psychologists. They know how your character is structured. They know how you're supposed to function as a person. So they teach you the uniqueness of your character. So you learn to accept yourself. So yeah, that's
Learning
right.
to accept yourself. That's very interesting. But you see now here in Africa, more people feel like therapy and counseling are things that are made for white people. Why do you think it is so difficult for Africans to embrace it?
Yes, Africa. That is the biggest problem we're having here in Africa. African people just not accepting therapy and counseling. I think it comes from the myths that we have. One of which is men don't cry, women should be strong and endure whatever they go through. I'm very sure we're familiar with the cases where abuse would happen in older generations, like in the 80s, 90s, and women were taught not to talk about it because you're a woman. That's how your husband shows love. So I feel like Africans are unable to accept that because they've, stuck with their culture, their myths of believing no, men should not cry, They shouldn't show weakness. Women are always strong. They endure whatever comes their way. And so because we're living according to that myth, we've refused to accept help and try and change from that culture. So I think that's the reason.
All right. You have said a very interesting line that I caught, which was therapy and counseling are a medicine. So it's kind of an antidote to pandemic or what. Yeah. So talking more about yourself, these people are really curious about knowing if you have been in a therapy or a counseling, if you've been into one.
Yes, I have, but not more than I want to. Because I've also been a victim to this whole Africans not accepting therapy. My parents are very good Christians, spiritual Christians, so they believe more in, you know, praying about it, going to church.
That's right.
And it will help. Yes, it does help, but I am for the fact that as much as we do have the spiritual side of things, I believe that I still have to accept the duality of my being. I'm still human, I'm still flesh. So you'd be surprised to know I've only been to one therapy session.
One therapy
And
session.
after that, I was forbidden from doing therapy because there's always that statement where if you tell the therapist your information, she will go tell her family will spread it.
Yeah.
And it's actually, I feel pity for especially famous people because how can you get a therapist and you go and tell them like your deepest secret and they keep it to themselves? You know, they'll be itching to like share it with everyone. Do you know this popular person does this and that? So I think, yeah, that's the reason why I would want to actually do more therapy.
Therapists are really having a hard job, eh?
Yeah.
Right.
Very
So, okay. Our followers are curious about one thing. They would like to know, like, you have said that you've been into only one therapy, right? What led you to that therapy, and would you mind to share the nature of the problem that led you to that therapy?
Are there tissues? um, I think one thing that leads to therapy is feeling like you're not yourself. That's the first thing. Like things like depression. I've been all my childhood till I was like around 20 thereabout. I've had seasonal depression. Like depression wasn't a surprise for my parents. They just like she's gone back to depression. Simply because I grew up very insecure. As I said, I come from a very strict Christian background. So, judging from the generation we're living in, I was an imposter, as I would like to call it. I was called many names, like Sister Holy, you know, Holy One of Israel, Jesus Rest, and stuff like that. So people would exclude me from almost every activity. And I went to a girls' boarding school from Form 1 to 4. Throughout that time, my parents weren't in the country. So that's another thing that also got me a bit depressed because I had no support system. And another thing was at that girls' school, girls' schools are just typical, guys. So I was very isolated, and that insecurity kind of changed. I'm an extrovert by nature, but I started noticing I'm becoming more introverted. I couldn't express myself freely, even with my family. I couldn't open up about anything because I was scared of being judged. Just because every time I opened up, I would be judged. So when I started noticing, I started raging. I started, I was rude for no reason. I didn't like people. Like I'd always say the statement, I don't like people. Like human beings annoy me.
You just wanted to be on
I just wanted to be on my own. And the crazy thing that would actually expose that is that whatever classroom I'm in, be it from Form 1 till upper 6, if I get into a new classroom, I'll choose a corner desk.
When you're alone.
Where I'm alone. Like I'll make sure my desk is in a corner where even if someone gets in the class, they don't see me.
Just make sure you isolate yourself.
I isolate myself. I didn't want to be seen because I felt like if someone sees me, they're just going to be like, And I always had this question where I'd meet very good people, like even friends, just random strangers that are really nice. But I'd always ask myself, how long will it take them until they don't like me? So when I noticed that, I was like, no, this is not me. I really need to see someone. I really need to talk to someone who understands. Yeah.
Okay, I see. Wow, this was very deep. You really went through a lot. Okay, as you talk about it, what are the symptoms that our followers can look at to identify that they need help?
When you're
From
outside,
your own experience.
yeah, when you're outside of character. I think we all watch movies, and there are certain movies where you know exactly how this person is supposed to act, but they're acting a bit, offish. That's exactly how you judge yourself. And not judge, but look at yourself and, try to help yourself. Because if you know that I'm naturally a person who loves crowds, I'm an extrovert, I love talking to people, and you start seeing yourself isolating yourself with, self-loathing, asking yourself, why do I have a big head? Why do I have this, that? And another main thing, especially for females, I'm not sure about males, looking in the mirror and you're not happy with yourself to the extent that you rarely look in the mirror. Because looking in the mirror is not only about seeing your physical appearance, that's when you have a conversation with yourself. So when you look in the mirror and you're like, oh, that big pimple, oh my gosh, my hair, oh this, oh that, you're having a conversation with yourself. That reflection is you talking to yourself. So the moment you see that your conversations with yourself are not healthy, like you're always like, I'm a disappointment, you know a lot from yourself. So I think that's how you identify how you talk to yourself and how you are with other people, because you can't pour out of an empty heart if you don't have love for yourself. Yeah.
The healing process could take, because some people say that it's a lifetime process, but what's your take on that?
That's a really good question. I believe that healing is not about the quantity of time. I believe it's the quality of the time. Healing has no period, because we're all different, we're built different, we've gone through different things. As much as you might think, okay, she went through rape and another person also went through rape, you can't tell each other how to go through things, because each person experienced the same thing, might be the same thing, but in a different way. So I believe that healing has no time, and also healing is not linear. You might heal for 1 month, the second month you're in shambles, you're crying every day, and that's okay. It's part of the healing process.
I've always told people, if you've gone through something and you feel like you're now strong, and then one day you're just like, I just want to cry, lock yourself up, cry, let it out. It's part of the healing. It's not linear. It's not supposed to have a method.
It's just normal.
Exactly, because healing is not for other people, it's for yourself and how you genuinely feel. Yeah.
Because you're trying to feel better.
Exactly, you're trying to make yourself feel better. And you're the only person who knows what you can do for yourself to feel better. Because not everyone around you understands. And also, you going through trauma, it's internal. Not everyone knows what you're going through internally.
Wow, that's very interesting. This is really helpful. Yeah. I'm pretty sure a lot of people are getting tips from there. Yeah, so past trauma can have a certain function into our present time. If you reached a time where you feel like, okay, right now I'm feeling like my past trauma or whatever, like what have happened before is haunting me or is affecting me.
I have sorry to all my exes, but relationship wise, I've had so much trauma. I don't know why. I think I need to go to therapy to discover why I kept going back.
Sorry to all the exes.
I'm sorry, my exes.
Yeah,
but
sorry.
It's the truth.
Very sorry.
I really had what we call bad luck with relationships, like throughout my life. And I don't know, I would always pick the wrong ones. I don't know why. I'd always pick the wrong ones. And one thing about me, which is something I think people really talk about, I come from a very stable family. My mom and dad have been married for 25 years.
25 years.
And I'm 22. So it means they've been together for a very long time. And unfortunately, watching their love story, as a child, growing up, that's what you want to have. But you don't really know who to have it with. So I would get into toxic relationships and try to make it work like my mom and dad. So I'll tolerate anything, like cheating and, whatever it would be. I'll just, be strong, till death do us part. I forget that those vows are only for marriage. So I would make every relationship work, whatever the person does, I would make it work. So that's the past trauma that would always haunt me from relationship to relationship to relationship. I would always have the same kind of person, just in a different body. And I still remember, I think you were talking about suicidal thoughts. I don't know how many times I attempted suicide. I don't know how many times I've isolated myself and, just sat there like, I could just, end it right now. It's a lot of times, but because when you express it to someone, people don't really take it seriously. People think you're looking for attention.
That's it.
Basically, if someone comes and says, I want to kill myself, people are like, just go. In the African culture, even if you go to your parents, they're like, if you want to kill yourself, you just go. You won't tell anyone. But when someone, I think this is something for someone out there, when someone says they're having suicidal thoughts, be there for them. It's a cry out for help.
Very important.
So I ended up being suicidal because in my head I was like, I'm not wanted. Like, why do I keep going through these traumatic experiences? So yeah.
Wow. You were saying that most of the trauma were coming from your past relationship, right? So if you could find yourself in a relationship now, let's say couples right now, they find themselves in a position like where you are at. They have those trauma that is haunting them, affecting them still. What are the advices that you could give them so that that past trauma does not affect their current relationship?
I think talk about things. There's one I think one relationship I was in, there was a rule where we don't talk about exes.
Okay.
Which did not really work in our favor because I still have the trauma. I still have trust issues. I still have things I went through. So I think number one, as couples, talk about your past. Communication and talk about it. Like, there are times where your person, your boyfriend, your girlfriend might be doing something your ex did, and now you're angry, you're raging, and they don't even know that you're raging not because of what they did, but because you believe that they're doing what your ex did. So it's very important to talk about what you went through, and it doesn't always need to be like your recent ex. It could be an ex from 3 years ago, because for me it was just one toxic ex that just ruined everything for me. I think I still remember, I once told my mom, I'm not getting married. I'm just going to be Roman Catholic, become a nun. And just, that's how bad it was. Yeah. And it was a very long-term relationship. So it's one of those, it might not be a recent ex, but just asking, what is one toxic relationship you've been in that's affected how you see relationships? How can I help you heal from it? Because you can't blame a person for going through that trauma. Now that you're in their life, it's your duty. Not really your duty, but it's supposed to be in you, because you say you love this person, help them to heal. And how do you heal? As much as your ego doesn't want to hear about the ex and whatnot, especially guys, just chill a bit. Just chill a bit. Yeah, sure. Hear about what homeboy did, and be the better man, Sure. How can you be the better man? Yeah. How can you be the better man when you don't know what the previous guy did, So I think we start from there. That's the only key that I've seen that really works. People say spend time together, try to... No. Talk about it. The only way to deal with the wound is to confront the wound. You don't now look at another and massage another body part. That wound is still there. So the best thing is talk about everything before you even go far. Even if you guys are just in a talking stage and whatnot. Express yourself if you're comfortable. This is what I went through. My ex was abusive. I had an abusive ex, and it was lethal. It was very bad to the extent that now I think what affected me was I couldn't open up to him. If I would open up, you'd get a call from his mom, and she'd be like, "He's breaking windows. What did you do to my son?" And at that point, I'm like, what? So does it mean we can't talk about things? And in relationships, you're supposed to talk about things. So after that relationship, I didn't open up. I just chose not to open up because now I was scared. What if he goes and breaks a window and he bleeds to death or something? So I think, express yourself and be receptive of whatever that person might say, as much as your ego might say, no, I don't want to hear about exes.
Wow.
Yeah.
This is a really lifetime experience, and it's very inspiring, right? Last but not least, we want to hear from you. We want to get some advices from what you have experienced. How do you think people can take care of their well-being in this depressed generation?
I think this goes back to what I said, that therapy is a vaccine.
Therapy is the vaccine.
Therapy is the vaccine, and a vaccine is not used when you're now sick. A vaccine is used way before you get sick, for you to be immune to it. If you can't go to therapy, have a friend, have a close friend who you're open with, who's open with you, so that you have that mutual relationship and talk things through. There's nothing in this lifetime that you can't talk about. I've been one person. I really accepted this interview because I've been very passionate about mental health and most importantly suicide, because the number of suicide cases nowadays it's becoming very scarily normal. Like someone could wake up and you hear someone killed themselves, you're like, okay, another one tomorrow. And it's not supposed to be like that.
Yeah, it's not.
So I think don't end things. I think this is because this is a vast platform. I'll have this and say this. If you're having suicidal thoughts, don't end things. There's nothing in this lifetime that you can't talk about. And there's nothing in this lifetime that you can't experience and no one else has experienced worse or the same thing. I'm not invalidating anyone's experience or anything like that, but talk about things. Find someone to talk to. If you can't afford therapy, there's a website I've been using. It's called 7cups.com. 7cups.com.
All right.
It has like a doll, like so it's a doll that you talk to.
Okay.
And at first when I saw the doll, I'm like, you guys are playing.
Like,
why would I be talking to this cartoon? But the doll asks you, valid questions that any friend would ask you, and it's going nowhere. It's just you and the doll. You're just talking about life, and it asks you persuasive questions. You get to answer, how are you feeling now? Okay, why did that hurt you? And all of that. You answer all those questions. You express yourself. At least the more you release, it's better that way than keeping things inside and then ending things. Everyone was born with a purpose. Everyone has a right to live a legacy.
That's true.
And you ending things, trust me, I've tried ending things, but I actually discovered that no, but that's not the legacy I want to leave behind. When people ask, who was Lynn Chikwati? Nah, she was this girl by A. She killed herself. I don't want that to be my story at the end of the day. I want to live that legacy. So my advice is get someone to talk to. Get that 7cups.com, get a therapist, get someone, even if you don't have a friend. There are people who are just supportive. They're just people like me. I'm very passionate about mental health and stuff like that. And I wouldn't mind someone calling me at 3 a.m. and saying, I'm having suicidal thoughts. Can I just talk to you? I would. I still remember I had one scenario. My friend's brother wanted to end his life. And he just called her, and fortunately I really thank God I was in the room. He just called her and said, whatever happens, I love you. And he had once attempted suicide, so it was one of those cases where I just watched her crumble. She was crying as if he was already dead. And I just took courage. I took the phone, went on the phone with him. I told him, I tried this. It doesn't work. The pain doesn't end because you're leaving people grieving your life, your death, actually. It doesn't end things. And I tried convincing him. Until this day, he's alive.
Wow.
I don't know if he still has suicidal thoughts, but it's worth the try. So I think I'm that person who doesn't mind, getting a call at 3 a.m. I wouldn't mind. If you have my number, call me at 3 a.m. I'm having suicidal thoughts. If you're within walking distance, I can even come to wherever you are. We talk about things. Because life is worth living. It might not seem like that today, but God always gives us beauty for ashes. I promise you. I've been there. I've tried ending things. It really doesn't end the pain. Rather, it just transfers the pain to your family that's gonna lose you. So if you have anything you're going to talk about it, if it's about relationships, give yourself time. In this generation, there's always pressure, umjolo, dating and whatnot. Get rid of that pressure because you're not dating for people. If you feel that like you can't be in a relationship at all, stop. Leave it like that. Have friends around you, to distract you from the pressures of relationships. If you feel like you've had a traumatic past, I still remember I was single for a whole 2 years, and it was intentionally. I told myself I'm not going to date anyone because I'm toxic by myself. Not in an offensive way, but when you've been through trauma, you're toxic. Because every fight is just going to reflect from your past, which really isn't fair on the person you're dating. So if you're having any trauma, take a break. Even if you're going to work, nowadays they're very mental health conscious. If you see that at work I'm not even productive, or at school I'm not even productive, take a break. Even when I came to school, my mom would always tell me, if you're going through something that week and you feel like you're in class and you're not hearing anything, rather don't go to school. Stay in your room, deal with yourself, and come back strong. So yeah, that's what I think. That's my advice.
Thank you very much. I'm pretty sure our followers have really got a lot from you. Right? Thank you very much, guys, for staying on the watch, and we appreciate for the openness, the honesty. Yeah, thank you. So, guys, this marks the end of our show today. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. See you all.